The damage bill for Pakistan could top $10 billion. But recovery funds are tight, and experts reckon it could take months for the floodwaters to recede. Homes and businesses are submerged or don't even exist anymore. Reconstruction is impossible right now. Thousands of the small factories and kilns across the country have been extinguished. Their supplies of bricks needed for rebuilding are also underwater.
Roshan Ali and his son Imam have lost everything. They put their savings into building a house, which they finished only 2 months ago in the southern province of Sindh. The floods have wiped out their home and all their hopes.
I worked my whole life to build this house. I've never owned a house before. We were so happy when we finally managed to save enough to build it. I don't know whether that will ever happen again.
Ali and his son are both carpenters. Imam bought some materials and started building a workshop, but his hopes were quickly dashed. It rained non-stop for 17 days, and the walls were overcome by floodwaters.
Luckily, we have relatives nearby, and we're living with my cousin. There are 4 or 5 other families there. They're just simple laborers, but they help us because they are family.
On the way into the village where the family is now staying, the scale of the destruction is clear. The water here is also waist deep. 8 people normally live in their temporary accommodation. Now, more than 30 are crammed in.
My kids are sick but can't get any medicine. We can't even leave the house.
The family needs medicine, food and clean drinking water, but there's little prospect of any improvement. Shah Hassan is the agricultural minister in a region which is 90% flooded. Many residents are farmers who depend on their harvest, but the food means that's likely to fail this year.
The water in some houses is a meter deep. The wheat harvest will be devastated this year and next year. The water in the fields has to drain away. It's likely there'll be no harvest for 2 years.
Many here feel the floods will mean food shortages. Although it's one of the countries with the lowest greenhouse gas emissions, Pakistan is a victim of climate change.
The village elders say it hasn't rained this hard in 100 years. Of course, it's linked to global warming and climate change.
The government says more than 30 million people are affected by the flooding. The authorities are promising financial help for those in need, but they've not received anything so far. Roshan Ali doesn't know how he and his family will cope.
Please don't ask me whether I'll ever be able to build another house. I feel helpless and completely overwhelmed. I've never cried before in my life. I'm just trying to stay strong and be grateful for what God has given me.
Roshan Ali's big hope now is that for his son at least, the dream of owning his own home will one day come true.